Happy Friday. Here we are, back again for entertainment news. So, on Geek Entertainment News, hey Jonathan, hey GameStar, hello Dan. So, on our Friday Geek Entertainment, toward the beginning of the month, we go over what premieres are coming out. As the month goes on, I'll give you any little updates, and then we cover different topics. This month is animation. We're doing animation. So last week we did 80s cartoons. If you guys missed that and you want to check it out, you can go back and check out last week's stream of 80s cartoons. Now we are, tonight we're doing adult animation. Got my Rick and Morty shirt and my Louise ears. Already can go over some adult animation. Some of my favorite shows. I know some of yours. So this should be a fun stream. Let me think. Yay! Thank you, Jonathan, for appreciating my Szechuan sauce shirt. That's really hard to say. Don't try to say Szechuan sauce shirt. Okay. Alright, cool. I think we're good. Trying to think if anything new popped up this week that was interesting. Devs, that FX and Hulu show. So like it comes on Hulu the next day. But if you don't have like Hulu, you can watch it on FX. And if you have regular cable, I don't know how all that works. But it's been a really weird and interesting ride, that show, Devs. Nick Offerman is really good. Yes, Daddy did get me that shirt. I think there's probably one episode of it left. It's been a, pretty average series. I think 7 episodes. So, pretty interesting. If you guys are into that technology ish mystery type stuff, you'll enjoy it. Alright, so let's get into our adult entertainment. Alright, so adult entertainment considered any animated shows geared for ages 13 and up. Some of them are a little more adult than others. Some that were considered adult animation shows, I was pretty surprised about. So we'll get into all that. The original air dates for all the shows for the most part. A few older cartoons and like different ones from different had like revival seasons in the last few years because all anybody does now is remakes and reboots. So I don't really get too many revivals because none of them have really panned out anyway. So it's pointless. That should really tell people to stop remaking, rebooting everything because they fail utterly. But I don't know, somehow they're just not getting the memo. Alright, so our categories for adult entertainment are going to be pre-1990s and then 1990s, which is really where you see the boom in adult entertainment happen, and it really kind of like becomes a thing. And then some for older, like for like the pre-1990s, you'll see there were a couple sort of short-lived shows. When we got the 2000s, I stopped mentioning any shows that only lasted like one season because by that point, adult entertainment had, and really like the more modern ones, I kind of had to cut it down to just like what's really popular at this point because you could make different animated series now that are considered adult entertainment. I mean adult animation. Damn it, Danny. You're right, Jonathan. Eon Flux is on the list. And pretty funny because like people called me like I didn't know how well known that was, but okay, I'm because like I used to wear my hair kind of like that. Like I still do sort of sometimes, but so yeah, I got called Eon Flux for years. I used to be super skinny too. All right, so let's get it in. We are starting pre-1990s. Okay. Do you know what the first series were that were considered adult animation? Did as adult animation on like Wikipedia, stuff like that. I was a little bit surprised that it fell into this category, but the Flint, I guess technically was the first, and the Jetsons also was considered adult animation. And they were considered adult animation was that they aired in Flintstones aired from 60 to 66. The Jetsons original season 62 to 63. They came back for a few seasons 85 to like 87. It seems like the Jetsons so many more seasons. Like that was really crazy to me that the Jetsons was that sort of short-lived. Flintstones was a little bit longer, but they aired in prime time when they were originally on in the 60s. And they had like more games than regular cartoons, like whatever was on Mighty Mouse and stuff like that. And they had a laugh. If you like think about the Flintstones, whatever had like a laugh track, like a sitcom. So it was technically considered a sitcom, more animated series. But by the time I came around and was conscious enough to know what was going on, so like early time I was not a baby anymore. Like the Flintstones and Jetsons were just kind of like regular cartoons. But yeah, I would find out that oh, everybody's listing all of their. See, I was really surprised that Ren and Stimpy was not listed as adult animation. There was a Ren and Stimpy, like a second Ren and Stimpy series. It wasn't on MTV. It was on another network. As adult animation, but the original Ren and Stimpy, surprisingly enough, was not. So, okay, pre-1990s, you had Flintstones, the Jetsons, a show called Where's the Hoodies that was on only for like season 1970. That was another one that aired in prime time. Like all of these older aired in the evening, so they were considered adult shows, not kid shows. Super weird. A show called Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Stevie and Zoya. It was an action cartoon that was on probably maybe 87 to 89 on. So I don't know if anybody remembers that, but that was the first, I guess, MTV one that was considered adult animation. And then rounding out the 90s is The Simpsons, which started in 89. As I mentioned on our 80s cartoon stream last week, The Simpsons originally was part of the Tracy Ullman Show, which was like a sketch comedy show. I don't know if you guys know Tracy Ullman. She's really funny. She's still like she's in that what's the name of that movie? Mrs. America or whatever that's coming out mid like I think April 15th. And she's in that. I think she plays Betty Friedan. I'm not sure. But I'm psyched to see that too. Simpsons was part of the Tracy Ullman Show. Tracy Ullman Show was like a little sketch comedy show. It was really funny. And then The Simpsons spun off from being a part of the Tracy Ullman Show in 89. So it is a pre-1990s. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, so then we hit the 90s, and this is the boom in adult animation. Starting with, as Jonathan said, Aeon Flux. Aeon Flux, 1991 to 1995, aired on MTV, along with a show called Liquid Television, that was on the same period, like 91 to 95. For some reason in my head, I think I made Aeon Flux a part of Liquid Television, and it was a spin-off. I don't remember, like, I don't know. I remember them being, like, sort of connected somehow. But then Aeon Flux becoming, like, its own thing. Sorry, David shows over there. Alright, there were 2 Hanna-Barbera shows early 90s, one called Capital Critters and one called Fish Police, that I do not recall at all. They both aired in 92, and they were pretty short-lived, apparently. Then 93, Beavis and Butthead hits the scene. So I have a soft spot for Beavis and Butthead. I was in high school, I guess, when Beavis and Butthead came out, and like our favorite parts of Beavis and Butthead were videos. Hilarious. Like in my head, I can still play the whole thing of when they played the video for that song Funk. Oh my god, it is hilarious. And Beavis was just like, you know what I don't understand? And doing this whole thing and be like, funk that. Hilarious. So, Beavis and Butthead, great show. Like, it got a little trite, I guess. It could only, I guess, sustain that level of stupid humor for so long. Then they did the movie, like, Beavis and Butthead Do America, and pretty soon after that, it sort of... Alright. This one, even though I tried not to put in too many very short-lived series, this one I felt I needed to mention because something about it. A series called Family Dog that aired in 93 on CBS, I believe. It was listed production companies. One was Amblin Entertainment and one was Tim Burton Productions, which made me do a double take, and I had to look into it. And indeed, Tim worked on this series, Family Dog, that was very short-lived. It came from an episode of Amazing Stories in 1980. And apparently it was the first collaboration between Steven Spielberg and Tim Burton. And it was considered to be a huge flop, not so much because it didn't do well, but because there were such big names attached to it, and with all tanked. So, I'm feeling like almost I need to go back and check into this show, because for somebody who's been pretty in a long time, I don't even remember this being mentioned really, or like hearing too much about it. So I'm gonna check that out. Alright, then The Critic was on 94 to 95. That aired one season on ABC, one season on Fox, and then went off the air. I recall it, but wasn't into it. Duckman ran from 94 to 97 on USA. And then the greatness that is Cartoon Network scene. And we have Space Ghost Coast to Coast, started in 1994 and ran until 2008. And that Space Ghost Coast to Coast was hilarious. I'm sure you guys have seen it. If you haven't, you can go back and check out Coast to Coast. Then MTV in I don't know, between 94 and 96 had a couple of one season shows that didn't do well. The Brothers Grunt, The Head, The Max. Don't remember none of them. So that's why they didn't do well. Then Comedy Central gets into the game of animation, and we get Dr. Katz, which aired from 95 until 2000. 97 to 98 was Cartoon Sushi on MTV. Then we get the takeoff of King of the Hill. King of the Hill aired from 97 to 2010 on Fox. And so this was really interesting to me. I mean, they started right around the same time, but if you had asked me, I would have told you that Daria existed well. Daria was a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead. I'm sure some of you have seen it. If you haven't, like, if you have Hulu, it's available, like the available on Hulu. Daria was a great show. Daria was a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead, as I said, and it aired from 97 to. So they started right around the same time, but King of the Hill actually started first. And if you had asked me, I would definitely have thought that Daria was older. But, alright. Then 97 to 99, you got Todd McFarlane's Spawn on HBO. 7 on HBO. I don't remember that one. Then, in 1997, The World is Park. So there were certain shows that definitely changed adult animations, and I'm gonna say The Simpsons was ones that took adult animation up a notch and made it a little edgier than it had been before. Beavis and Butthead, maybe a little click more. Then South Park came along and was like, we're just gonna make as crazy as it can possibly be out the gate. Like, the things that South Park you all know, I don't need to say it, but like, there's nothing that South Park won't get into, won't tackle, and won't make funny. I like the way that this show is still on from 1997. So we're what, 20 seasons in, something like that. 20 summer. And it absolutely holds up. South Park really took adult animation to a new level. Then in 98 to 2002, we got Celebrity Death. I'm surprised Celebrity Deathmatch was considered an animated show, I guess, because it was more claymation than actual. Whatever. Actually, there were one or two shows like that are sort of claymation shows that they throw in there for animation. Celebrity Deathmatch was a lot of fun when it first started. They tried, that's another one, like, I didn't put down the dates, but that was one of the ones that they tried a few years ago, and it just wasn't the same, so that didn't last very long. Another short, like, one-season show, and I definitely stopped getting into these after the 90s, but I thought this one, I didn't do all of the 90s ones either. Ones I kind of let fly, but this one I thought bared mentioning. I don't know if anybody remembers it. There was a show called The PJs on Fox. Started into 2001, but it was only like one season, I think. It was an Eddie Murphy cartoon, so Eddie Murphy had a hand in that. Like, he voiced one of the characters and like produced it, I believe, and all that stuff. So it was a notable Dilbert rated as adult animation from 99 to 2000 on UPN. Family Guy started in 1999 and still runs to the present. Family Guy was very much in the things, but I have a love-hate relationship with Family Guy. Like, when it came out to it, then at one point I got into it for a while, but then fell out of it again and all that stuff. So, but you definitely have to give them a lot of credit as one of the major like adult animation shows, and one that's definitely taken there several times. There was a show called Station Zero, 1980, and Futurama started in 1999 on Fox. That ran till 2013. The last few were on Comedy Central. It started off on Fox. Futurama is another great show. That one is another. What's his name? Matt Groening, right? The Simpsons guy. Creation. Dun, da, da, da. And then the show Home Movies hit in 1999 and ran till 2004 as a UPN. Even UPN cartoons feel like they feel obscure to me. So, gonna breeze through the 2000s. Now at this point, we've had the mega of like South Park and you know, The Simpsons, Family Guy, and all of these shows. So there's seriously a boom in adult animation attempts in any case. So they don't all do well and they don't all last very long. Also in 2000, they started Adult Swim. So, being that they started a home for adult animation at this point, there were a lot more flash in the pan like attempts at to fill time that didn't work, blah blah blah. So at this point, I pretty much stopped mentioning any one series show, and we focus a little more laser in on the more important ones. And then by the 2010s, I just cut it down to what makes a difference now, because I go from like this much pre 1990s to like the 90s is huge. Like it really exponentially sort of grows with how many adult animated series there are. Now that I guess people realize that it was a definitely successful and popular, and it wasn't going away, and yeah. So all right, so I don't know why this one ended in order, but 2002 to 2004, the show Queer Duck aired on Showtime. I used to like that show. So anybody, Queer Duck. From 2000 to 2002 on ABC and Comedy Central, or produced by ABC and aired on Comedy Central. I didn't exactly remember how it worked out, but if anybody recalls, there was a Clerks, the animated series, done Clerks by Kevin Smith. So that was a brief series, but it was enough to bear recognition. Sure. This one was pretty brief too, but I thought it bared mentioning. They did a series on Comedy Central of TV, which if any of you guys are fans of Saturday Night Live knows that TV Funhouse would normally have aired during Saturday Night Live back in the, I guess, 90s, late 90s, I guess around the Will Ferrell, Tina Fey era. Those Saturday TV Funhouse little cartoons. They're really funny. And I guess, attempted to spin a series off of it, but the series, I guess, didn't last very long. It was done by Robert Smigel and Dana Carvey. Then Adult Swim hits. It's just like a bunch of shows that come out on Adult Swim. There was the Brack Show. That's Brack from Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And his show aired from 2000 to 2003. C-Lab 2021 from 2000 to 2005. Aqua Teen Hunger Force started in 2000, ran to 2015. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, started in 2000, ran to 2007. Okay. This one upsets me so much. Okay, this is a show that only ran for one season, which I didn't gonna get into, but when I discuss it, you'll understand. Okay. It's so aggravating to me. Okay. Oblongs. Has anybody seen the Oblongs? It started out on the WB, actually, and then ended up moving to Adult Swim. Yeah. The Oblongs is such a great show. Oh my god. It is so ridiculous to me that the Oblongs for one season. It is like a travesty. It is one of the best cartoons. I can't really like explain it too much. So it's like a family called the Oblongs, and they like live near where there was a chemical spill, so they're all a little bit mutated. The Oblongs is such a great show, and it's heartbreaking to me that it didn't run longer. I really wish there were more episodes of the Oblongs. Samurai Jack started in 2001 to 2004. 04 to present. Still making new episodes of Venture Brothers. The show Drawn Together started in 04 Central. That was like their next kind of big animated series after South Park. Like after South Park, Drawn Together was funny. It aired for, a few years. And then they kind of fell off with it. But like the first season of Drawn Together was great. Perfect Hair Forever from 04 to 07 Adult Swim. Tom Goes to the Mayor 04 to 06 Adult Swim. Like this was Adult Swim boom. American Dad starts 2005, still running today. It ran on Fox for seasons or 11 seasons, I guess. From season 12 on, it was taken over by TBS. So TBS does the new seasons of American Dad. Robot Chicken started 05 and still airs. I mean, I don't know exactly what to say about Robot Chicken. It's a great show. I don't know that I would think of it as an animated show, but I mean, I do some sort of claymation stuff and like I guess animated stuff sometimes. When I think of Robot Chicken, I just think of like dolls, which I guess is animation, so it counts. But yeah, it's sort of its own thing. But Robot Chicken, Seth Green, hilarious. Scott Evil from it like kills me a little bit that like for the rest of that kid's life, like him is Scott Evil, and anybody that was around during the Austin Powers, like the first one, I don't even think I saw until like way later. Didn't pay attention to the second Austin Powers took over the world, and yeah, Scott Evil. Show called 12 Ounce Mouse was on Adult Swim from 05 to 06. Squidbillies started 05 to present. Give It Up for the Boondocks. That's a great show. Ran from 05 to 2014. Moral Oral from '05 to '08. That's another one. Out of that, I was like, okay, that's another sort of like claymation stop motion show. Moral Oral was a kind of spoof of a Davy and Goliath that used to be on. I don't know if any of you know anything about this show, and the only reason I know about it, I mean, we would catch it on TV every once in a while, I guess, but I don't think we ever would have paid attention to it, but for the fact that when I was really, really little, my in Catholic school, so the nuns would like roll the TV into the room and make us watch episodes of Davy and Goliath. It was so funny. Metalocalypse started to 2013 on Adult Swim. Okay, this was another show. Now, again, I broke my own rule and I mentioned the show that only ran for one season. Again, I find it a little bit of a travesty, even though I feel like I thought that there were 2 seasons of this show because I had it on a streaming service for a while. Might still have it. I have to check into it. But Happy Tree Friends. Happy Tree Friends is a great cartoon. Started in 2006 on G4. I didn't even see it when it originally came on. I had to wait for it to, I think, pop up on Netflix was when I first saw it. And somebody was like, "Oh, you've never seen that? You would definitely like it." Because apparently my personality gives out the vibe that I would be a Happy Tree Friends fan. But it's a great show. Bunch of little animals. The thing about Happy Tree Friends is that they don't talk. But they don't really need to talk. They're just cute little animals that murder. So, even though I said I wasn't mentioning one-season shows, there are some one-season shows that are good enough to warrant a mention. Happy Tree Friends. There was only one on TV. It started on my birthday. Hey, Ben. Thanks for stopping in. Hey, Noah. Where am I? The Life and Times of Tim aired blah, blah, 2008 to 2012 on HBO. There were a few HBO animated series that popped up. None that were really familiar to me. That they weren't the like creme de la creme of adult animation because usually it hits my radar. But Super Jail from 2008 to 2014 on Adult Swim. Okay, here's another show. I mean, one season show. I'm all tongue-tied today. So, but I felt the existence of this one out there. Yes, Ben, you missed Space Ghost Coast to Coast. But we did throw it out there. Pretty much, I think the inaugural Adult Swim show, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, it's definitely the one that I think it like spawned Adult Swim because Coast to Coast was actually a cartoon on Comedy Central before they officially. Hey, Mom, how you doing? Sorry I missed you earlier. You guys are good. Oh yes, so I'm getting off track. So from 2008 to 2009 on channel that Happy Tree Friends aired on, apparently, and I haven't seen this, but I feel like I need to check it out. There was a space series of a short-lived nature. Great, Ben. Yeah, so I don't know if any of you guys ever saw this Spaceballs, the animated series. I don't recall, but anyway. And so they make it in before the 2010s. These two right under the 2009, the inauguration of Archer. I really always thought Bob's Burgers started before Archer, but apparently I was super wrong about that. And Archer aired first on FX. So Archer is another like definite favorite. We love Archer. Super funny. What's his name? H. John Benjamin, who does the voice of Bob from Bob's Burgers, also does the voice of Archer. So he's just great in everything and anything. H. John Benjamin does like half the voices on Bob's Burgers too. He does like Jimmy Jr. He does a bunch, but he does a lot, and he's great. Huge fan. So, Archer, but like the Archer's mom by Jessica Walter, who plays Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development. She is fantastic, super funny. The Arrested Development cast pop up doing voices, and a lot of the Bob's Burgers cast also pops up doing voices on Archer. So it's really interesting to watch, and they actually Bob's Burgers crossover on, I think it's the first episode of season 10 of Archer. I know whichever season it is, it's the first episode. It's like right at the beginning of the episode where they do a whole Bob's Burgers thing. It's really cool. So Archer, Aisha Tyler, Jerry, what's his name? Poor, what's his name from Saturday Night Live, Chris Parnell. He does a lot of animated, but now that he does Jerry on Rick and Morty, I just call him Jerry, and I am actually starting to forget his real name. So Chris Parnell, awesome voice actor, and he does like everything now because he has that like super like nerdy guy voice, I guess. Like, so they put him in everything. So yeah, he's on Archer. Great show. Definitely, if like you haven't watched it and you're bored, a good one to get into. Exactly. There's always money in the banana stand. I mean, we development just constantly finish, start over, and it never ever like Arrested Development never gets old. Everybody on that show, Liza Minnelli is fantastic on that show, and it was good. Like it's one of the best things to me. For a few years, Liza Minnelli seemed like she was kind of like, I don't know, not totally with it, not herself, and then she came on Arrested Development, and it was okay, she's good, like Liza's crushing it, like, and that was really cool to see because I'm a fan, and I have some common friends. My mentor who taught me to dance was a friend of hers, ex-partner of hers. So I got some little Liza Minnelli, Judy Garland ties on this. All right, and then the last one to get in before 2010 is The Cleveland Show, which hit in 2009. Obviously, of Family Guy. So Cleveland from Family Guy got his own show in 2009 on Fox, aired until 2013. All right, so then we hit the 2010s. So in the last decade, there were a handful of stand. I stopped even writing down years for things because, yeah. So Netflix started getting into the animated game. I'm not sure exactly which year. I don't know. I feel like, well, I guess around 2014, because I feel like BoJack Horseman, I don't know if it was exactly their first animated, I think first adult animated in any case. So we'll definitely start with that, I guess. So Netflix hit with some content in the 2010s. BoJack Horseman, 2014 to 2020. The last like episodes of BoJack Horseman just aired like a couple. Cool show. I like it. I don't know. It takes a certain like brand of nihilist, I believe, to like BoJack Horseman. I never got like super into it like I've done with a lot of the like. I mean, I was heavy into Bob's Burgers. I was heavy into South Park when it came out. I never got that like heavily into BoJack Horseman, but still a show that I appreciate a lot. And another Arrested Development alumni, Job, you know. Job. G-O-B, Job. 2017, Big Mouth. Great series. And when it first started, I went to watch it, and the first like episode, I was like, ugh, I don't like it. I did the same thing with Rick and Morty. I watched the first episode of Rick and Morty. You know what they did? Okay, let me take one series at a time. I went to watch the first episode, and just wasn't heavy into it. But after I grew an outside love of John Mulaney as a person, and I went back and was like, you know what? I just love the sound of John Mulaney's voice because he talks like an old-timey carnival barker or something like that. A weird voice. Hey, ATJH Travels, how you doing? Yeah, Will Arnett. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Job. Anyway, so I grew a separate from Big Mouth obsession with John Mulaney, who, if you got Mulaney game going, you need to hop on Netflix, watch all the John Mulaney comedy specials. John Mulaney started out as a writer on Saturday Night Live. And one of the funniest things to me about John Mulaney, Bill Hader used to do Stefan, that character, on Weekends Update, where he would be like, New York is blah, 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 blah. Like, hilarious. But the way that they did those sketches was that John Mulaney cue cards, and Bill Hader would go out there and not know what he was about to say as Stefan, which is why you constantly see he'll be just like sitting there cracking up behind his hands, and it's because John Mulaney made him totally break up. So check into John. Hilarious. I love him. Which made me go back and watch Big Mouth. It was created by Nick Kroll, who's great also. And Nick Kroll, it was pretty much based on Nick Kroll and his best friend growing up, who is also affiliated with the game off the top of my head. But and they grew up right near where I did. So I'm from Yonkers, they're from, I believe, Scarsdale, but we're all apart. We're right there. So in the series Big Mouth, they're in Westchester, where I come from, which is also they mention these certain things, and like, oh, if you're where I'm from, you'll catch things like they say something about the Fuddruckers on Central Avenue in one episode. There used to be on Central Avenue. It was very short-lived, but it was there, and like, so I catch all of these like little inside jokes from it too. In general, it's like a kind of show about kids going through puberty or whatever, and it's hilariously done. Maya Rudolph plays, and I believe Will Arnett plays the other hormone monster, doesn't he? Yeah. So it took me a minute, but really good. So check out Big Mouth. Netflix also did in F is for Family. Love, Death, and Robots was listed under their adult animation. Really interesting. So it's a bunch of like little short, weird. Some of them are cartoons. I mean, I guess all. I don't know. Haven't watched it in a while, but it was really interesting. Love, Death, and Robots. I didn't think I would like it because I'm not. Oh, excuse me. I'm not an anime fan necessarily. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's gonna be anime, but it really wasn't. They were all different animation styles and different things. In different stories, so it was pretty interesting. Check it out. Paradise PD. That's one I personally haven't really gotten into, but cop shows, I don't know, like don't do it for me and never have. Like I don't get it. Like I don't like. It took me a long time and myself to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. As much as I like Mike Shore, and I knew it was a Mike Shore show and that it had to be good. And I actually like Andy Samberg too. Like I Saturday Night Live. You know who I did not like on Saturday Night Live, and he's mind blowing to me. I just gotta throw it out there. Jimmy Fallon. Like, what's up with? It was like he sucked on Saturday Night Live, and then he hosts the Tonight Show. Like that's his next gig. What? Why? Why host the Tonight Show? Why? I mean, then again, I couldn't really kind of understand why Jay Leno hosted the Tonight Show either, because he was sort of nobody too. Like, I don't understand lame people to host the Tonight Show all the time, but I don't know. I don't get the best of nature with Jimmy Fallon. He was not funny on Saturday Night Live. He could not act. I mean, his like he took over doing weird shows on Weekend Update after. I mean, weird songs on Weekend Update after Adam Sandler wasn't there anymore, because that was Adam. I guess they needed somebody else that could do that. So that's pretty much what he did. But then they would put him in sketches and he couldn't act and he would laugh. It was terrible. Notably of the 2010s in 2011. Bob's Burgers blesses the world. Thank you, Lauren Bouchard, for Bob's Burgers. So, Bob's started in 2011, still running today. One of my favorite shows. I am obsessed with that was some drama. I don't know, Ben, like, always heavily into stand-up comedy. Like, we would watch stand-up comedy specials, and I had seen him once or twice, but I never really found him funny. And, like, I remember Seinfeld being really popular around that time, and then, like, yeah, Jerry Seinfeld went on to do Seinfeld and stuff like that, but I don't know, Jay Leno seems sort of, and didn't we do an event, Danny, with Jay Leno, and he was like, I don't know, apparently he wasn't, like, very friendly. Anyway, so back to the joy of my life, Bob's Burgers. So we've talked a little bit about Bob's Burgers because, it tends to come up. Mostly because we were talking about Archer. But anyway, Bob's Burgers is fantastic. There's like, all the characters are great. I don't know. And everybody loves Bob's Burgers. It is hilarious. It is great. The characters, fantastic. Louise, love it. Tina, love it. One of my favorite characters on Bob's Burgers is Mr. Fish Odor. I don't know, like, Kevin Kline does such a great job with that character. Whatchamacallit? Sorry, I'm just catching up on comments. Yeah. So yes, Bob's Burgers. I feel biggest blessing of the 2010s. Because most of the major adult animation shows have actually been out before then. And since we just hit 2020 of this decade, and anything coming now is going to be part of the next decade. So the 2010s was huge for failed shows. A lot started and fizzled out pretty quickly. But that's because animated shows have a really long shelf life if they're good. I mean, look at how long The Simpsons is running. Family Guy. I mean, so like the biggest shows will run forever. And Bob's Burgers. I mean, okay, 9 years at this point, but it's got some years left as long as Disney doesn't go screwing with anything and lets it's been all this time. And the Bob's Burgers movie is coming out. I'm so excited. And soon. It was supposed to be out this year, but I feel like it might have gotten pushed to next year, and I have to double check on that. But the Bob's Burgers movie is coming out. We're gonna find out how Louise got her ears. I'm so excited. And some of the notable Adult Swim shows that have popped up in the 2010s. Final Space, The Jellies, Mary Shelley's Frankenhorn, Mike Tyson Mysteries, and since 2013, finishing off our list of animated shows, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. I managed to keep it consistently smart and hilarious. Rick and Morty, though, I have to tell you, was another one that the first episode what I went to go explain before when I was talking about Big Mouth. But I try not to topic jump too much because I'm really good at that, as you see. I first watched Rick and Morty. Okay, so everybody's like, yeah, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty. And I'm like, okay, gotta check out Rick and Morty. So if you watch like an episode of Rick and Morty, Rick like belches while he talks constantly. It's really off-putting. And in the first episode or two, it was like, I mean, especially the first episode, it is uber noticeable. It's over the top. As time went on, they phased that out a bit, or definitely decreased. You don't just constantly notice Rick belching all the time, because let me tell you, like, it was off-putting to me. I could not, like, I couldn't understand why you would do that. And it was hard for me to pay attention to the show around it. But and it's only really bad for like the first episode or two, and then it seriously decreases. Only issue with Rick and Morty, only issue, is that they should have it. That this show's been on it since 2013, and it is now 2020, and there have been how many seasons? 3? 3.5. I don't know. What are we on now? I can't even. So, VR game. Ooh. Like, I'm not into VR games, but I would check that out. Oh, Anatomy Park. That's so cool. Yay. Hey, Adam's Life. Oh, Jonathan, that sounds awesome. I want to check that out. Yeah, so yeah, my and definitely like, okay, the new season was what, 2 years between the season before it, which they said during the finale of the like last season. I think it was Mr. Poopy Butthole at the end, and he was like, "See you in like 2 years, probably." And then it was this whole thing, and then it was like, oh, Comedy Central didn't renew us, and blah, 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 and a lot of fighting back and forth. Yo, get it together. You know you have, like, the most popular animated series, right? So how does Comedy Central drop the ball? How does, um, like, Justin Roiland and what's-his-face drop the ball? Terrible. It was terrible. So that should have been together. We should not have waited that Rick and Morty seasons. That's ridiculous. I mean, I appreciate that. Like, I'm sort of accepting of the fact that they're ridiculously because I want quality episodes, so I'm cool with that. Whatever. Even though I'm not really, I feel like you can put out more episodes of an animated show. Bob's Burgers manages. But poo on that a lot of I'm not piecing together Instagram videos to watch an episode of Rick and Morty. I don't know. I feel like that was a huge failure to their fans, really, to not keep the series rolling and just kind of sit there for like a year being like, I don't know. Like, ridiculous. So that's my only problem with Rick and Morty is I feel like it's been sloppy, the creators and the network. A little aside, one of the creators, Justin Roiland, from Rick and Morty, actually did one of my favorite shows. He did Community. So, yes, Danny, that is correct, and that is a fun fact. But yes, another is that the creator of Rick and Morty is the same guy who created Community, which is one of my favorite shows ever, ever, ever. So that is my basic overview of the history of adult with a little bit of chit chat and asides on some of my favorite ones. I don't know what some of your favorite ones are. If there are any series you can think of that I maybe didn't mention. I think it was pretty comprehensive. I mean, no, I left out a whole lot, but they were mostly failed series, and I don't think that every single thing that was ever thought of bared. I'll say it because I swear it's on my C-Lab 2020. It's on my list right here. Right under the Brack Show. See? Oh, I don't know if you can see, but it's right there. So, ha ha ha! I did say C-Lab. The newer Simpsons spin-off, old medieval days. Disenchantment. That is, I did say it, but I just listed it under the 2010s, like Netflix shows, because that's like a Netflix. Disenchantment, which is actually really cute. The main girl on it is voiced by Abby Jacobson from Broad City. And done by Matt Groening from The Simpsons, as Jonathan mentioned. So yeah, Disenchantment is. I know that, so I know that there's a new season of it coming. I'm trying to think, is there 2 seasons out so far? I believe something like that. I can't remember because I know the first season they aired in parts, like. So I can't remember if the second season aired or if I'm just thinking it was the second part that aired, and now I'm very confused. Thank you, Danny. Yeah. So I'm trying to think if there's anything. All right, so there's one show that I have to throw onto the top of this pile of fabulousness, and my favorite adult animated series, because this show was not listed because, I mean, it wasn't animated. Technically, I guess it was puppets, but being that it doesn't really fit itself into any category, I am going to the top of this beautiful salad of animation that we have made. No, he doesn't. He's a bear. He's like a Care Bear that I got later. I have to change his batteries. He used to like do something. And yeah, he's a little baby Care Bear, and that's why he bigger than normal head. See, he got a little diaper and stuff. So yeah, that's why he's a big head Care Bear. You are correct. Original Care Bears did not have giant. About now, Baltimore. Did I say Super Jail? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, it's somewhere. Jail 2008 to 2014, Adult Swim. Yeah, I did. Anyway, so the one series that's not mentioned anywhere, but I'm because it is one of my favorite shows of all time, and it is very obscure, and it was a MTV show that was on for a brief in like around 2000-ish time. Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys ever saw a show called Syphil and Ollie. So Syphil and Ollie are two sock puppets. It was a show created by Liam Lynch. I want to say Matt Crocco. Or is that the South Park guy? I always get them confused because like the South Park guys, Ollie guys have very similar names, and it's very confusing. I'm drunk on Panda Mystery. What kind of hiding in? I can't. You're killing me, Daddy. Don't make me start singing about pandas. If you guys have never seen Syphil, I implore you to go back and watch the MTV episodes of Syphil and Ollie. Just its own show. They tried after a couple years putting like music videos into the show. I don't know if it was supposed to be like a Beavis and but the sock puppets weren't talking over the videos. They would just like float by. It was very weird, and it really killed the show, that whole music video thing. But for the first, it was just sketches, and they do a lot of like songs and things like that. Syphil and Ollie is so good, and it's taken off the air on MTV. They actually did a YouTube series of Syphil and Ollie and kept putting out episodes and stuff like that. Go to their YouTube channel. There's like a bunch of stuff that probably I haven't even seen. And I can't attest to the newer Syphil and Ollie. I can definitely, it's like Syphil and Ollie was so good that a friend of mine took the songs that they made up in episodes of Syphil and Ollie and on like cassette tapes. We had 2 volumes, and I'm talking that these are little like 1-minute songs and stuff like that. We had 2 volumes of Syphil and Ollie songs, and oh my god. So, not really an animated show, but a fantastic, deserves mentioning, and one of my all-time favorites. So I'm throwing it out there with adult animation, and take it, roll with it, some Syphil and Ollie. Yes, they did. They did the song United States of Whatever, which had a little blow up. And very popular outside the show, and I don't think anybody really was it in like a commercial or something. Why did that song get popular? I can't remember. But yeah. So United States of Whatever was originally a Syphil and Ollie song. And in fact, Syphil and Ollie song. Because like they do these little music videos with the sock puppets. And he's like, not the and this girl walks up to me and I'm like, whatever. Yeah. Alright, so I guess it's time to conclude this magical journey into the fun and fabulous world of adult animation. We'll be here tomorrow at midnight for the Midnight Hangout Drama Party where we get crazy. I think I'm gonna be signing off. And yeah, as Danny said, now it's time to say goodbye to all our peoplies. Thanks, Noah. So yeah, Danny and I will be here tomorrow at midnight for the hangout. So hang out, because that's what we do. And thank you for hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will be back next Friday to continue our animation journey all this month. We'll see what next week's topic's going to be. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out. Have a great night. And we'll see you tomorrow. Play me out, Danny.